There's a certain thrill, isn't there? Thinking you know something secret.
Yeah.
There's like a hidden story.
Oh, absolutely. It feels very human, that pull towards towards conspiracy. We're pattern seekers.
We really are. We want explanations,
Yeah.
especially for big, unsettling stuff.
Right. Things that just feel too weird or too big to be simple.
Which is a perfect lead-in for today. You, our listener, sent over this really interesting piece from Live Science. It lists 21 pretty notable conspiracy theories. So yeah, our plan is to really dive into some of these, figure out why they stick, and maybe touch on the arguments against them.
Sounds good. The article mentions Karen Douglas, the social psychologist, right? Her criteria.
Yeah, the three things. A secret plot, hidden action, and a motive.
But then there's that extra something she talks about that makes them take off.
Exactly.
Yep.
Like they confirm what you already believe, or they're just exciting,
Yep.
or they offer this massive explanation for massive events.
And tapping into those deeper needs, social connection, wanting certainty, feeling safe.
Totally. It all ties together. Okay, so let's get into it. How about we start with one that feels super relevant right now? The dead internet theory.
Ah, yes. That one's fascinating because it hits right at our relationship with the online world. It apparently came from a forum thread, Agora Road's Macintosh Cafe, back in 2021.
And the idea is the internet isn't real anymore.
Sort of. The claim is that the internet basically died maybe around 2016, 2017.
Died how? Like literally unplugged?
No, not physically. The theory says most of what you see online, posts, replies, articles, you name it, it's generated by bots, not people.
Bots? Really? Why?
Well, the main driver, according to the theory, is ad revenue. More clicks, more activity means more money. Some folks even throw in government manipulation as a possibility.
So when I'm arguing in a comment section, I might just be yelling at code.
That's the gist of it, yeah. Machines talking to machines, making it look like human conversation. But there is a kernel of truth, the article points out.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
Well, current estimates do suggest bots make up something like half of all internet traffic.
Half. Wow. Okay, that's actually a lot. All right, let's shift from the digital world to a really tragic real-world event. 9/11. So many theories there.
Yes, and it's so important to state up front, like the article does, the known conspiracy. Osama bin Laden, the hijackers, that's tragically real.
But then you get the other layers, the more complex theories.
Right. Things like the Bush administration having inside knowledge, or even, and these are deeply offensive, anti-Semitic claims about Israeli orchestration.
And the whole jet fuel can't melt steel beams argument, that one just keeps going.
It does. It's central to the controlled demolition theories. But the article mentions that No VA documentary from 2006.
I think I remember that.
It really broke down the science. Intense, prolonged fire absolutely weakens steel enough to cause collapse in those kinds of structures. It lines up with what happened.
It makes sense visually. The collapse looks so deliberate somehow. But then the logic of the alternatives.
It gets tricky. Like the article asks, if Flight 77 didn't hit the Pentagon, where did it go? Where are the passengers?
Good point.
These theories often ignore basic logistics. And, there's a psychological angle too. Sometimes we mistake incompetence or just bureaucratic chaos for some grand, efficient conspiracy. We expect government to be perfect.
Yeah, that's true. We assume a level of control, and when something awful happens, maybe it's easier to imagine a plot than just failure. Okay, let's talk about Princess Diana. Another sudden, shocking loss.
Very much so. Like JFK, her death in '97 just shocked everyone, and that kind of event often breeds theories. Mohammed Al-Fayed, of course, was a major proponent of the assassination idea.
He really pushed that narrative, didn't he? Claiming British intelligence, the royal family.
He did, very strongly. But multiple official investigations, the coroner's inquest, they all looked into his claims very thoroughly and found them baseless.
So what was the official finding again?
The jury verdict in 2008 was unlawful killing. But due to the driver's gross negligence, he was intoxicated and the actions of the pursuing paparazzi.
It's pretty powerful, though, that the article mentions even Prince Harry initially wondered if she might have faked her death.
It really speaks to the trauma, doesn't it? The difficulty accepting such a sudden, awful event. Sometimes the mind reaches for any alternative.
Yeah, grief is a powerful thing. Okay, let's shift gears. Subliminal advertising. That was a big scare back in the day, right?
Oh, yeah. Think Wilson Bryan Key, Vance Packard. The idea was that ads were sneaking hidden messages into our subconscious, making us buy things. Caused quite a stir.
Weren't there controversies with music, too? Like hidden messages in rock songs?
You got it. The article mentions Styx, Judas Priest. There was that big lawsuit against Judas Priest in the 90s, claiming subliminal messages led to his suicide.
Wow. Did that case go anywhere?
It was ultimately dismissed. The science on subliminal influence is actually pretty shaky.
So it's not real. We don't process things subconsciously.
Well, we do process things below conscious awareness. Subliminal processing is real. But the idea that it strongly compels behavior, especially more than regular obvious advertising, the consensus is not really. Getting someone to see something fleetingly is one thing. Making them do something is another kettle of fish.
Right, makes sense. A catchy jingle probably does more work. Okay, how about a real classic? The moon landing hoax.
Ah, yes. We never went. This gained steam with that 1976 book, the movie Capricorn One, even a Fox documentary back in 2001.
What are the usual arguments? The flag waving, no stars.
Those are common ones, yeah. And the identical backgrounds and photos. But scientists and photo experts have debunked those pretty thoroughly, understanding vacuums, camera exposure, perspective.
But the biggest piece of evidence against the hoax has to be the moon rocks.
Right, exactly. Hundreds of pounds of lunar samples brought back by Apollo missions. Scientists all over the world have studied them, verified they're not from Earth. Why would all these international scientists who weren't part of NASA play along with the hoax?
Good question. It unravels pretty quick.
And you can understand why the astronauts get so offended. Buzz Aldrin punching that guy, Bart Sibrel, back in 2002. It shows the frustration.
Yeah, I can imagine. Okay, sticking with history, but maybe a bit more whimsical. Paul is dead.
Yes. The Beatles conspiracy. Paul McCartney supposedly died in a car crash in '66, replaced by a lookalike named Billy Shears or whatever.
And the Beatles left clues everywhere.
Yeah.
On album covers, in lyrics.
Right. Abbey Road, State Pepper. Fans found clues all over the place. His bare feet on Abbey Road, him facing the wrong way.
It's incredibly detailed.
It is. Except for, the rather large detail that Paul McCartney is very much alive and still making music.
Right, that minor point. It's amazing how strong the narrative became, though.
It really is. Shows the power of wanting to find hidden meaning, maybe,
Yeah.
and just being really into the band.
Definitely. Okay, another major historical event, and one that still generates so much debate, JFK's assassination.
Oh, absolutely. The core question always comes back to, was Lee Harvey Oswald the lone gunman? Or was there more to it? The grassy knoll shooter.
And the fact Oswald himself was killed just days later.
By Jack Ruby, yeah. Someone with known connections to organized crime. That just added fuel to the fire. Presidents have enemies, right? Lots of potential suspects.
So many avenues to explore.
Exactly. And while the official Warren Commission found no evidence of a wider conspiracy, the doubts and the alternative theories have never really gone away.
It feels like, with something that big, people resist the idea it could just be one disturbed individual.
That's a really common element, I think. We look for an explanation that feels proportional to the event's impact.
Right. Okay, let's travel back to 1947. Roswell, New Mexico. Enter the aliens. Maybe.
Or maybe not. So, the agreed upon part is something crashed near Roswell. The military initially said flying saucer, then quickly backtracked to weather balloon.
Which sounds suspicious, obviously.
It does. But the likely explanation, based on later declassified info and what witnesses described the debris looked like, points to Project Mogul.
Project Mogul, what is that?
A top secret Cold War thing. High altitude balloons with listening devices to monitor Soviet nuclear tests. The materials described foil, tape, lightweight beams match Mogul. Not a typical flying saucer.
So the cover-up wasn't about aliens, it was about hiding a spy program.
That seems to be the most evidence-based conclusion. The stories about alien bodies and recovered craft, those didn't really surface until decades later, like 30 years after the crash.
It's funny how a Cold War secret morphed into an alien encounter story over time.
Time, secrecy, and our fascination with the unknown. It's a potent mix.
Okay, now for something much, much darker. The Protocols of the Elders of Zion. This isn't quirky, it's just vile.
It truly is. A completely fraudulent document, pure anti-Semitic propaganda. It claims to be the minutes of secret meetings where Jewish leaders plot world domination, controlling governments, finance, media, corrupting morality.
And it originated in Russia, right, early 1900s.
Yes, around 1905. And tragically, it wasn't just some fringe pamphlet. People like Henry Ford promoted it, the Nazis used it extensively, Hitler even mentioned it in Mein Kampf.
To justify hatred and violence.
Exactly. It was used as proof to dehumanize Jewish people and justify persecution and genocide. And the truly sickening part, even though it's been definitively proven a hoax for over a century, it's still published and circulated today.
That's chilling. It's such a stark reminder of how dangerous these hateful theories can be in the real world.
Absolutely. It highlights the devastating real-world consequences and the need for vigilance against hate disguised as conspiracy.
Let's shift to something more recent, but also involving widespread fear.
Yeah.
The satanic panic in the 80s and 90s.
Right, this moral panic swept across America. The core belief was this vast, secret network of Satanists kidnapping, torturing, ritually abusing children, all completely unfounded.
I remember the Geraldo Rivera specials. They were everywhere. Seemed so convincing at the time.
They were incredibly sensationalistic, relied on things like recovered memories, which is now largely discredited, and very questionable interview techniques, especially with children. Think of the McMartin preschool trial.
Oh yeah, that was awful. Lives were ruined based on accusations that just didn't hold up.
Totally. Eventually, all charges were dropped, the methods were discredited. Experts like FBI agent Kenneth Lanning wrote reports concluding the whole thing was baseless, a hoax fueled by fear and bad therapy practices.
It's a terrifying example of mass hysteria, really.
It is. Protecting children is vital, of course, but when fear takes over and critical thinking goes out the window, innocent people suffer terribly.
Okay, next up, chemtrails. This one seems to persist.
It does. People see the normal condensation trails, contrails from planes and believe they're actually chemicals being deliberately sprayed.
Sprayed for what purpose? The theories vary, right?
Hugely. Population control, biological warfare, weather modification, geoengineering, you name it.
Yeah.
And sadly, actual scientists studying clouds in the atmosphere often get harassed by believers.
That's terrible. And the science, is there anything to it?
Absolutely nothing. Numerous studies, like the 2016 one the article mentions polling atmospheric chemists, find zero evidence of any secret spraying program. Contrails are just water vapor condensing in specific atmospheric conditions. It's basic physics.
But the belief is so sticky for some reason.
It taps into distrust of government, maybe anxieties about pollution or technology. Once someone believes, contradictory evidence often gets dismissed as part of the cover-up.
That's self-sealing logic.
Okay.
Okay, let's talk politics. Barack Obama, birtherism.
A major political conspiracy theory. The claim, completely false, was that Obama wasn't born in Hawaii but in Kenya, making him ineligible for president.
Despite newspaper birth announcements from the time, witnesses.
Exactly. And despite releasing first the short form, then the long form birth certificate from Hawaii, it was an extraordinary step to have to take.
And it really propelled certain figures into the spotlight, didn't it?
It certainly raised the profile of conservative activists who pushed it, most notably Donald Trump. It showed how potent these theories can be as political tools, playing on existing prejudices or anxieties.
Yeah, less about facts, more about sowing doubt. Okay, fast forward to a more recent crisis, COVID-19 and all the theories around it, especially linking it to 5G.
The pandemic was just a breeding ground for conspiracies, wasn't it? Virus origins, government responses, death counts, and yes, the bizarre link to 5G.
What was the supposed connection?
Theories ranged from 5G radiation causing the illness or weakening immune systems to the truly wild idea that vaccines contain microchips linked to 5G for tracking people.
The microchip thing never made sense technically. Too big for needles, no power source.
Precisely. The article points that out. Basic physics and engineering make it impossible. But these theories fed on existing distrust of big pharma, government, technology, often pushed by alternative medicine figures, sometimes with their own products to sell.
Right, that financial motive often crops up.
It does. It was this perfect storm, a scary new disease, a new technology rolling out, and underlying public distrust.
Okay, this next one. It sounds like a joke, but apparently it's not entirely. Birds aren't real.
Yes, this one's fascinating. Started by a guy named Peter McIndoe in 2017, basically as performance art, a parody.
A parody of what?
Of misinformation itself. The theory is that all birds were replaced by government surveillance drones. It was meant to show how easily absurd ideas can spread online.
But some people actually believe it now.
That's the weird twist. What started as satire has genuinely attracted some people who seem to take it seriously. It kind of proves McIndoe's original point in a rather unsettling way.
Wow. Life imitating art, imitating conspiracy.
Something like that. Maybe the absurdity itself is appealing in a world that feels increasingly strange.
Speaking of defying basic science, flat Earth, it's back.
It really is much more visible in the internet age anyway, despite, millennia of evidence for a round Earth.
That's the argument. Just, it looks flat.
That's often the starting point, yeah. Personal observation trumps everything else. Photos from space, faked. GPS, part of the conspiracy. They invent, as the article says, this weird physics on YouTube and forums to explain away evidence for a globe.
Is there a motivation beyond just distrusting science?
Often, yeah. Sometimes it's tied to literal interpretations of religious texts, or a philosophical desire for humans to be at the absolute center of a specially created, flat plane. It's a deep rejection of the established cosmological model.
It's amazing how resilient that belief is.
Worldview is powerful. It shapes how you interpret everything you see.
Okay, back to COVID quickly. This one is really dangerous. The idea that COVID treatments themselves were killing people.
Yes, incredibly dangerous. People were told that effective treatments, like the antiviral remdesivir, were actually the cause of death.
And they refused treatment based on this.
Some did, yes. Often influenced by alternative health sources, like Brian Ardis claiming it was all snake venom poisoning, not a virus. It led people to reject proven medicine.
Snake venom, wow. And again, the profit motive.
Often comes into play, promoting unproven supplements, treatments. There's money to be made by scaring people away from conventional medicine. It's a direct threat to public health.
Truly frightening. Okay, prepare for a leap into the unusual. Reptilians running the government.
Right up there in the outlandish category. The idea that world leaders, the elite, are actually shape-shifting lizard people in human disguise, secretly controlling everything.
Where did that even come from?
The article suggests roots in old pulp fiction, but it was really popularized by figures like David Icke. It often overlaps with New World Order theories and, unfortunately, can sometimes carry anti-Semitic coding, identifying certain groups as the reptilians.
And it's not totally harmless fringe stuff, right? The Nashville bomber.
Disturbingly, yes. That individual reportedly believed in reptilian conspiracies, among others. And you still see it pop up, like after Queen Elizabeth II died, the reptilian claims resurfaced online, shows these ideas linger and can motivate real-world actions.
It's unsettling how these narratives persist and adapt.
They tap into that primal fear of the hidden enemy, the secret controller, I suppose.
Another big one in the health space. Big Pharma is hiding natural cures.
Hugely popular. That 2014 study found it was the most believed health conspiracy, the FDA suppressing natural cancer cures because of drug company pressure.
And it extends to other things too. Cell phones, vaccines.
Yep, hiding data on cell phone cancer risks, knowingly pushing unsafe vaccines. It's all part of the same narrative of suppression for profit or control.
But again, the scientific consensus just isn't there for those claims.
Not at all. No proven cell phone cancer link. The vaccine autism study was fraudulent and retracted. And mainstream cancer centers often do incorporate complementary therapies just alongside, not instead of evidence-based treatments like chemo or radiation.
And the natural cure promoters often have their own financial interests.
Absolutely. Selling unregulated supplements, books, courses. We mentioned Kevin Trudeau earlier, convicted of fraud for his bogus natural cure claims. It's often about exploiting hope and fear.
Right. Okay, let's shift to fandoms. Fan theories can get pretty conspiratorial too, right? About celebrities' actual lives.
Oh, definitely. It moves beyond interpreting the work into speculating, often wildly, about their real lives. The article mentions the classic Avril Lavigne replacement theory.
Is that still going?
Apparently. And more recent ones like deepfake theories about actors like Zhang Zihan, or the Larry conspiracy about Harry Styles and Louis Tomlinson being in a secret relationship.
And that caused real issues for them, didn't it?
Reportedly, yes. It stems from that intense fan investment, the parasocial relationships, and maybe the feeling that the public image is fake, so there must be a real hidden story. Fans try to piece together clues, often seeing connections that aren't there.
Like trying to find the truth behind the celebrity mask?
Exactly. It's like applying conspiracy logic to fandom.
Okay, a relatively new one.
They want you to eat bugs.
Yes. This popped up seemingly starting on places like 4chan around 2019. It takes legitimate discussions about insect protein as a sustainable food source
And turns it into a plot.
Right. A plot by the elites or the ruling class to force everyone else to eat bugs, often tied into climate change agendas or the Great Reset theory.
Which can get pretty dark, right?
It can. Sometimes it morphs into theories about enslavement, population control, and can even pick up anti-Semitic undertones. Conservative media figures have definitely amplified the simpler, "they want you to eat bugs" line.
It's amazing how suggesting insects as an option becomes a forced mandate in the theory.
It's a classic misrepresentation, taking a suggestion or possibility and twisting it into a sinister compulsion.
Okay, last one on the list. Denver International Airport, the Illuminati hub.
DIA has leaned into its weird reputation, hasn't it? The strange art, the construction issues, it all feeds the beast.
That giant blue horse with the glowing red eyes is pretty memorable. Lucifer.
Definitely adds to the vibe. So theories claim it's a secret HQ for the New World Order, Illuminati, reptilians. Take your pick. People interpret the murals as depicting future doom, the gargoyles as watchers, that OAG inscription as a bioweapon code.
And the giant bunker underneath.
That's a big part of it, yeah. A supposed multi-story deep complex. The reality. Maintenance tunnels, the baggage system, the train lines. Nothing quite so Bond villain-esque.
But the mystery is more fun, I guess.
For some, absolutely. It gives a mundane place an extraordinary hidden meaning.
Well, that was quite a tour through the world of conspiracies. From lizard people to dead pop stars to bugs. It really covers a lot of ground.
It really does, and it shows how these theories cater to different anxieties, different needs for explanation or belonging.
And we have to remember, as Karen Douglas points out, these aren't always just harmless quirks.
No, definitely not. There are real-world links to prejudice, genocide even, risky health choices, climate denial, political extremism like QAnon. They can really damage trust in science and institutions.
So we've seen theories spring from real tragedies, from weird art, from scientific debates, from pure fiction. They offer certainty, maybe a sense of control, a community.
But that sense of certainty often comes at the cost of ignoring evidence or twisting it. Critical thinking is just so crucial, especially now with information and misinformation spreading so fast.
Evaluating sources, questioning assumptions, being aware of our own biases, it's constant work.
It really is.
So maybe a final thought for you, our listeners, as you process all this. Think about your own strongly held beliefs. Could any of them have shades of this kind of thinking? What evidence would it actually take for you to question them? Where do you draw that line between being healthily skeptical, which is good, and falling into suspicion that isn't based on facts? Something to chew on.